All right, so our second panel discussion will be about supporting Black innovators with their IP. We'll be discussing how key government programs can support Black entrepreneurs with their IP, and this panel will be moderated by Fancy Pierre-Louis, who is the Acting Director General at the Services to Business branch. Fancy, c'est à toi.
Merci, Jennifer. Alors, bon après-midi tout le monde. Je suis vraiment heureuse d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm really pleased to be here today for this exceptional event. I want to sincerely thank all of our panelists for the first discussion. I hope that you were able to get some insightful insight in terms of what are the barriers and the issues and the challenges that are currently being experienced by Black innovators and entrepreneurs in the marketplace. I'm also happy that we were able to get some tips and also some value in trying to understand where the government could actually move forward. So I want to sincerely thank Dr. Juliette Daniel, Monsieur Samuel Pierre et aussi Thierry Lindor d'avoir participé à cet événement. Et nous, évidemment, le gouvernement, l'un de nos aspects, c'est d'être la clé de la solution. On veut contribuer, on veut travailler avec vous pour s'assurer qu'on puisse aller de l'avant pour vraiment faire avancer les choses pour la communauté noire au Canada. On a aussi d'autres invités spéciaux sur place, comme Madame Marie-Françoise Mégy nous avait dit c'est pas ce matin, mais en début de réunion. Nous avons une exposition présentement au Sénat. And with us today, we have Dr. Bernard Thébault. I just want to recognize him because he's one of the pioneers that we have decided to showcase in the Senate. And maybe you want to say a few words, Doctor?
Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Bernard Thébault. I'm a pediatrician at the CHIO and the Otto Hospital, at the Otto Hospital, and I'm also a scientist at the CHIO-RI and OHRI, so I understand the pain of writing grants and applying. Perseverance is the best guarantee for success. And as a neonatologist, so a pediatrician that takes care of critically ill babies in the NICU, we are looking for new therapies to improve the outcome of these babies. So we have just finished the first ever in the world done clinical trial with cell therapies from the umbilical cord in preterm babies. So it's a phase 1 trial, so safety, feasibility, and hopefully the next stage, phase 2, will show efficacy. And the other thing is a gene therapy for which we probably are here for the entrepreneurial aspect of it, that can hopefully cure genetic lung diseases in babies and older children. So I'm very pleased to be here. It's very exciting. And my background is different. I'm also of Haitian descent, but I was born and raised in Munich, Bavaria, and then did my training in medical school and other training in France, and then came to Canada for a postdoc. And I wanted to be a clinician scientist, do the research, but also take care of babies. And there is no other place outside of North America where you can do that. In Europe, it would not have been possible. So we stayed here in Canada, and it was a great decision. And the next 10 years will be very exciting because we will finally make the big step from the lab, the Petri dish, to patients. Thank you.
Merci, Dr. Bernard Thébault, pour votre présence aujourd'hui. Nous avons aussi Sonel Merjus et sa femme, présentes. Alors, si vous croyez que l'événement aujourd'hui était exceptionnel, je vous invite à participer à un autre événement qui va avoir lieu le 29 février, où est-ce que les deux, Madame Jasmine Exaël et Monsieur Sonel Merjus, vont pouvoir partager leur vécu et comment ils ont navigué à travers les programmes et les services gouvernementaux pour accéder à l'information, le financement, le support nécessaire pour être capable de vraiment avoir eu une reconnaissance, mais aussi une belle performance en termes de leur entreprise au niveau du Québec. Alors, je reconnais qu'on est les présentements près de 3h30. Alors, nous allons commencer avec le deuxième panel. So it is a great pleasure for me to really introduce you to our next segment. It's how key government programs can support Black innovators and with their intellectual property. So I'm really honored today to have in the lineup expert who will be able to tackle this critical topic to assist entrepreneur innovators to navigate what is meant to be a really complex world when we talk about intellectual property, not only in the ability to recognize it, in the ability to protect it, but to commercialize it, because a lot of people find themselves where they, once they have it and it's built, the ability to actually make money out of it can become quite cumbersome. So joining me for the discussion, I have first Béatrice Ngatcha. Alors, Béatrice est une avocate et aussi une agente de marque de commerce, agent de brevet, mon Dieu, excuse-moi. Agent de brevet licencié, et elle représente aujourd'hui l'Institut de la propriété intellectuelle au Canada. Merci. Nous avons aussi Mathieu Larivière. Alors, Mathieu Larivière est le gestionnaire d'un des programmes clés de financement pour la propriété intellectuelle dans notre ministère. Nous avons aussi Sarah Pai. So Sarah Pai is an executive director. So she works for the Trade Commissioner Services. She works for the Trade Commissioner Services, and she within the unit of Agriculture, Mining, E-commerce, Intellectual Property, and Strategic Coordination Division. And then we do have, lastly but not least, André Gallant. So André Gallant is a lawyer by trade. He's one of our IP advisors within CIPO, and he covers the Atlantic region of the country. So let's start the conversation. I'll turn to you, André. Can you please tell us a little bit about your role as an IP advisor and talk a bit about the IP awareness and education services that we have within our branch and the type of resources that is being offered?
Yes, thank you, Clifanzi. And it's an honor to be here, privileged, inspired. So thank you. So knowledge is power. Okay, we've heard about that. We're going to talk about property and empowerment with that too. And the way for that is we've heard also that IP is more and more important. We also know that more and more businesses in all industries have property that need IP protection. Okay, so and we also know that the IP rules are complex. The laws are complex, court cases are complex, and IP strategies is complex. When I was in high school, when I was in college, when I was in the university, I rarely, if ever, heard of IP. Okay, so what's this part of the solution? Many parts to the solution, but one of the part is the team I'm in at CIPO. We try to raise awareness and educate by having many angles to it, and we keep on evolving. So we have many products. We have over 140 products, and it's growing from IP 101 to IP 102, etc. For the different IP rights, 101, 102, etc. Trademarks, copyright, patents, industrial designs. We also have material on IP commercialization, IP strategy, IP abroad, and related issues. Okay, so, and then we create those documents based on many conversations, based on the expertise. At CIPO, we're over 1,000 employees, and most of them are expert IP examiners. And we also rely on all the conversations we have with clients. Okay, so because we are, like the CEO was mentioning, because we're at the center of the IP ecosystem, and because people need to come to us to acquire certain rights for IP, then, and because we have over 1 million contacts with clients, we try to help, but they help us get better. Okay, so that's why we develop different resources because we want to reach people as soon as possible. I was speaking to educators last week, over 325 educators from across the country, to try to talk about IP as early as possible, as frequently as possible, from different angle and from different resources. You don't need to only come to us. If you need to have 5-6 conversations about IP, do it. Because if you don't, your competitors may do. And they may outperform you just based on knowledge. Knowledge is power. And the unknown unknowns, I think, when someone was referring earlier. So there's nothing worse than the unknown unknowns. We have national webinars, regional webinars and presentations. Okay, so we have, and then we offered over 800 of webinars and presentations in the past 7 years. And we had over 350 outreach programs. We're never satisfied, never. So it's all about, and then we have documents from detailed guides to more high-level guides. For one pager, there's different ones. There's a nice checklist. And we have over 35 podcasts with experts from around the world. And that keeps on growing. So this is what we can offer. And we also have the last point I want to make, and it's going to be the next question, is we have intellectual property advisors like myself. And I'm going to give more detail in the next question. Thank you.
Merci, André. Je vais aller à toi, Béatrice. Évidemment, on parle d'un concept très complexe quand on parle de la propriété intellectuelle. J'ai mentionné que ce soit au niveau de l'identification jusqu'à la commercialisation. So, why should an entrepreneur reach an IP professional, right? Like, what is the value added in trying to get support, in not trying to do it themselves? And I'll put a little bit of context because what we see here at CIPO is often when people don't know us very much, right? So they know us. So whenever they are ready to apply, they will come to us. But in their ideation phase, when they're trying to build their innovation, they find themselves often where financing is an issue. We've talked about it at the previous panel, or they find themselves where they are impeding on someone else's perceived right, or someone else is impeding on their right. Right? So we see a lot of cases where people are knocking on our door and they are finding themselves in this situation. So just tell us, like, the really value proposition and what does EPIC offers to these entrepreneurs.
Thank you very much, Clifanzi. And I'll start by saying that it's really, for me, an honor to be here. I'm very pleased. What a great idea, the organization of this event within the Black History Month. I'm very happy to be with you guys. Maybe I'll speak mostly in French because I've exchanged with many people and I've noticed that many people here are francophones, so I'll be speaking mostly in French. So, bon, voilà. Donc cette organisation que je représente ici aujourd'hui, Intellectual Property Institute of Canada, donc c'est l'association des professionnels en propriété intellectuelle au Canada. Et donc, c'est ça, ce sont des agents de brevets, agents de marque de commerce, bon, des spécialistes en droit d'auteur, des spécialistes qui font du litige également. Alors, l'importance de la propriété intellectuelle n'est plus à dire. Hein, vraiment, on s'est sorti en long et en large là, dans tout ce qu'on a vu. Et On le voit tous les jours dans les nouvelles. La propriété intellectuelle a pris vraiment une importance assez importante. Et ce qui est intéressant, c'est que, à noter, c'est que nos gouvernements en prennent conscience de plus en plus. Je pense que Mathieu nous parlera. Et donc, les gouvernements sont vraiment lancés dans les financements, que ce soit le gouvernement fédéral et les gouvernements provinciaux également. Il y a des programmes pour aider à financer la protection, l'acquisition des droits de propriété intellectuelle. Bon, maintenant, pourquoi travailler avec nous? Alors vraiment, ça c'est sûr, il y a une valeur ajoutée très élevée. Je vais au cours de ce panel, peut-être pas dans cette première question, dans les suivantes aussi, faire ressortir des points vraiment pour montrer comment il est important de partir, surtout au début justement, de partir dès le départ en se faisant accompagner par un professionnel en propriété intellectuelle. Déjà, prenons un cas simple. Okay? En général, on nous contacte, les personnes nous contactent, les entrepreneurs nous contactent, ils vont dire « Ah, on a cette marque de commerce qu'on voulait, on a entendu dire qu'on doit protéger, est-ce que vous pouvez nous aider ?» Voilà. Et là, nous, en parlant avec l'entrepreneur, on se rend compte que la marque de commerce, en fait, ce n'est pas sa seule propriété intellectuelle. Il y a d'autres aspects dans son entreprise qui peuvent être protégés par brevet, par dossier industriel, par droit d'auteur. Et donc, juste les aider à déceler ça, c'est vraiment une plus-value. Parce que souvent, donc, ils nous ont contacté pour la marque. Peut-être qu'il y a donc cette innovation qui peut être protégée par brevet. Ils ne sont pas conscients, ils ne savent pas. Et ils vont peut-être faire la grosse erreur en brevet qui contraste avec les marques de commerce, par exemple. Ils vont faire une divulgation publique de cette innovation-là. Okay? Ceci vraiment met directement une barre d'avoir un brevet dans plusieurs juridictions dans le monde. Heureusement, le Canada, c'est un pays qui offre une période de grâce quand même. Si on l'a divulgué publiquement, on peut encore avoir son brevet si on a déposé sa demande de brevet dans l'intervalle d'un an. Les États-Unis aussi. Mais dans plusieurs juridictions, comme par exemple en Europe, c'est fini. Vous ne pourrez plus avoir votre droit de brevet protégé. Alors, de ça, on va les aider à déceler ça. Et mettons, par un autre cas, mettons que les personnes travaillent en recherche. Juste même vraiment les sensibiliser. On voit de plus en plus que les chercheurs sont sensibilisés à breveter. Mais sinon, avant, on voyait vraiment des cas grossiers où ils venaient nous voir trop tard. Okay? Ils sont déjà allés, ils ont écrit une publication scientifique, ils l'ont publiée, ils sont allés à des conférences, ils en ont parlé, des abstracts ont été déjà publiés, donc on ne peut plus protéger. Et donc, vraiment, travailler ensemble. Moi, je dis souvent à mes chercheurs qui viennent me voir, considérez-moi comme membre de votre équipe. Okay? On suit ce que vous faites comme recherche et on va voir si vous pensez que vous voulez publier ou moi, je vais être là, je vais regarder, je vais suivre ça. Je peux vous dire, OK, voilà, on peut faire ceci. Bon, le financement, les fonds, c'est toujours un problème là-dedans. Mais comme je dis, on va en parler sur les financements disponibles aujourd'hui. Mais aussi, je vais souligner ici, c'est pas toujours d'un coup, en partant, qu'on va comme débloquer des gros fonds. Je vais revenir là-dessus plus tard, mais juste pour dire qu'il y a des moyens, il y a le système de la propriété intellectuelle nationale et même internationale. Il y a donc ces moyens qui font qu'on peut s'organiser pour ne pas payer, ne pas délayer, retarder le plus possible la période où on va débloquer des gros fonds. Alors, donc, on est là pour aider là-dedans. Et voilà, peut-être qu'un point pour conclure sur ce point-ci, revenant sur les différentes formes de propriété intellectuelle. Donc, on vient nous voir, on se rend compte qu'il y a plusieurs formes et c'est vraiment la beauté quand on a une innovation. Si on peut la protéger par plusieurs formes de propriété intellectuelle, c'est vraiment un plus. C'est vraiment, donc comme on sait, il y en a qui ont des termes bien définis. Mettons que voilà que l'innovation, on a vu qu'on peut protéger par brevet, marque de commerce, droit d'auteur, par exemple, okay? Dessin industriel. Donc, on va essayer de faire tout ça et à un moment donné, on sait la vie la protection par dessin industriel va s'achever, c'est fini. À un moment donné, plus tard, mais les autres continuent. Le brevet aussi, le terme va finir, c'est fini, mais la marque de commerce va commencer, va continuer. Elle, par exemple, c'est intéressant, c'est à vie. Alors, autant que vous renouvelez votre enregistrement, vous avez la protection. Et entre-temps, votre produit sur le marché a gagné. Le fait que vous aviez des brevets, des dessins industriels, a fait que la compétition est restée loin. Donc, votre produit s'est avancé, a connu un nom vraiment, c'est fait un nom. Alors, quand les brevets vont être morts, l'imitation va venir sur le marché, mais peut-être les clients, le consommateur va comme exiger votre produit parce que on le voit depuis longtemps, vous avez fait de la place et puis bon, voilà. En tout cas, on parlera d'autres points un peu plus tard. Je vais m'arrêter ici.
Merci Béatrice. Évidemment, quand on parle de accéder à des services de professionnels, souvent il y a un montant d'argent associé à l'accès. Alors, Mathieu, j'aimerais ça que tu parles un peu de ton programme, parce que c'est un programme qui a été évidemment qui cible exclusivement la propriété intellectuelle et le support aux entrepreneurs. Alors, si tu peux juste partager un peu c'est quoi le programme, c'est quoi le financement, qui peut y accéder, ce serait apprécié.
Oui, certainement. So before I start, I just wanted to very quickly say on a personal level, I really enjoyed the three speakers earlier. That was wonderful. It was informative and inspiring, and I will definitely keep the idea of accomplice, not ally. I enjoyed that. So as my colleague just said, the government is taking a greater interest in intellectual property, recognizing the importance of it. So this was officially done in 2018, where the government launched an IP strategy with multiple aspects. So it tries to target a lot of different aspects all in one document. There's IP awareness and education. There's IP legislation, and there was strategic IP tools. And under that header, two programs were launched. One, there's Explore IP, which I'll touch on briefly later, and then my program, ElevateIP. ElevateIP was awarded $90 million over 4 years to help entrepreneurs. The way we do that is we have a bit of a different delivery model. We work through the business incubators and business accelerators. We have 5 partner organizations, 5 recipients that operate across Canada, and they provide services to other BEIs and startups. So I said this was a 4-year program. We are just finishing our 2nd year, so there's another 2 years of funding. It's all launched across Canada. Most of them are open for applications as we speak. So I especially if you're online, you can go to our website. All the links are there, and you can go check it out. Now, the different types of activities that are funded, we are trying to tackle as a program a lack of information. So there's we fund education, information sessions. There's some groups offer one-on-one mentorship. So the offerings will vary slightly depending on which region you live in. But the 3 types of activities that we cover are always the same. So there's education and awareness. We also provide funding for the development of IP strategies. So coming up with a plan on what you need to protect, how to go about it. And then finally, there's the implementation of that IP strategy. So we provide funding to file a patent, to work with patent examiners, attorneys. All of that is all covered. So our recipients across Canada, there's Springboard Atlantic, supports Newfoundland Labrador, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island. Le Mouvement des Accélérateurs d'Innovation du Québec, also known as MAIN. So they cover Quebec. Community Tech supports Ontario, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan. The University of Calgary takes care of Alberta, and New Ventures BC has British Columbia and Nunavut, Northwest Territories, and Yukon. So everywhere across Canada, funding is available, and it's available now. I think the only one that is currently oversubscribed for the moment is in the Maritimes, where they will receive more funding in April, and it'll be open again. So they can also partner with partner organizations. So for example, Community Tech has partnered with Invest Ottawa. So if you were looking in Eastern Ontario, you could go to Invest Ottawa. Also in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, Community Tech has partnered with North Forge, so they're providing support in the prairies. These groups have also partnered with other BEIs or other organizations to help, especially reach underrepresented groups. So there was Springboard does a lot of work with the Tribe Network out in the Atlantic provinces. The University of Calgary works with CCAB, the Canadian Council of Aboriginal Businesses. So that is a way to try and increase outreach to underserved groups, because that is really an important element of our program. I'll touch on that a little bit later, but it does it is an important element of our program. So yeah, as I mentioned, as of January, everything it's launched across across Canada. Now, there is another program that was created called Explore IP. I'll just touch on it briefly. If you have any interest, please feel free to reach out. But Explore IP is a website. It's a tool that has a lot of publicly held IP. So if anybody is interested in wanting to leverage what's already there, so it makes available this huge wealth of publicly held IP that we have in Canada. And so what it does is if you search a particular topic, a particular chemical, you'll see if there's something that is already there, and it can put you in touch with the owner of that patent to try and so you can reach out to them and see if you can come to some sort of a licensing agreement or something. So that's it.
That's great, Mathieu. It's interesting because you talk about awareness and education. It starts with the knowledge. You mentioned it, André. The development of the IP strategy. It touched on what you said, Béatrice, in terms of someone thinks that they only have that one intellectual property, but when you start talking to them, you realize that, oh, you have a whole suite of IP that you should probably manage through a portfolio. And there's also that implementation, right? Like the ability to actually go and apply and secure that protection here in Canada and abroad. And when we talk about abroad, obviously there's a lot of people who have a lot of ambition, right? So Canada is a great market, but I think people are also looking to go in foreign markets. We're talking US, we're talking Asia, we're talking Europe. So Sarah, so from a Trade Commissioner Services, can you talk about the services that you have and how do you support business owners and entrepreneurs to actually export in international markets?
Merci, Clifandier. Absolutely. And in fact, you know, Monsieur Pierre mentioned it. If you've got si vous avez une idée où vous pouvez rendre 20 millions de personnes heureux, c'est une bonne idée. Mais franchement, on n'est que 38 millions au Canada. So, you know, we need the world to be successful. And this is why trade is so important and so important for all of us. Trade is, you know, a huge part of our GDP. But not only that, we know that companies that have IP are 4 times more likely to trade and to export. And companies that export are 5 times more likely to be sustainable and to exist, you know, 5 years down the road. So this is a real interesting business strategy for you and especially for our SMEs who make up 90% of our economy, but only 12% of them trade. And especially among our melanin, what was the new term that I learned today? The melanin colleagues or our Black entrepreneurs. It's even fewer. It's only 8.3%, and we're here to try and make that number bigger because it's really an important to bring Canada to the world. So what can the Trade Commissioner Service do for you? The Trade Commissioner Service is part of Global Affairs Canada. We have about 1,000 people around the world in all our embassies in 160 countries around the world. And we're a global network that can support you in your international business goals. The States, in Europe, in Asia, wherever, as Clifandier mentioned. One big important thing is that our services are free. They're absolutely free to you. There's no charge whatsoever. We serve companies. If you have 1 employee, you're a client of ours. And, you know, we do look for companies that are ready to export, however, and that's an important thing, an important service that we'll provide you. So we have 4 key services. One is market preparation and export readiness. Are you ready to go? And one of the big things that is important is sometimes you're not, and we help you to not lose your shirt by making a move that you're not quite ready for and help you get ready to make that move when you are. We provide opportunities. Our network abroad is constantly reaching out to the business community there, looking for a widget or looking for a technology that we know we can supply, that we know that we have cutting edge technology and innovative technology for, and we bring those opportunities back to the Canadian clients, companies here. If you're going to a new market, we help you identify the important contacts, the lawyers in market that you need, the marketers, the IP experts in that region, and help make sure that you're plugged in to all the expertise that you need to be successful in that market. And finally, once you're in market, we help you resolve problems because they come up. Whether it's certification or a shipment hasn't arrived, you're having trouble at the port, whatever it is, this is our role. And it's all free to you. How do you access us? Well, we do have a website, and that's one way in. We're also located in 6 cities across Canada. So we have an office in Toronto. That's usually the best place to start. Toronto, Montreal, Halifax. But we'll come to you wherever you are. And we can make sure that you have that outreach. What do we do for IP? Wow. Don't ask a trade commissioner service for IP advice. I'll tell you that right now. If you do that, you're going the wrong place. Because we have expertise, but not on that. And that's why we work with our colleagues in the IP Village, at CIPO, at IPIC. We find your contacts, vetted contacts abroad, to make sure you are plugged into those people who can give you the good advice, because this is technical stuff, right? That's what we do. We make sure you're talking to the right people and that we get the right people in front of you so you don't have to do the hunting. And, through that, we make sure that our trade commissioners are asking you those questions. Do you have an IP strategy? Does it have an international component? You don't want to walk into certain markets in the world that I won't name here today with a really important technology, because guess what? Then you could lose your shirt, you could lose your IP, you could lose your technology, and it happens a lot. Canada is a well-recognized brand. It's recognized around the world for value, for good quality. And there are certain players who will not hesitate to take that from you. So definitely, if you're looking to export, and you probably are more expert ready than you think, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're free. We'll chat with you. We'll give you we're happy to work with you on your international strategy. We have some interesting programs as well, but I think I'll talk about one right now, and then we'll move to the other one. One of the programs that's not a funding program or specific to IP, but I think it's really interesting to this crowd, is our Canadian Technology Accelerator Program. This is a program that helps Canadian companies and with a scalable technology or product accelerate their global growth by providing them market entry support in 12 cities. So we're in Boston, we're in New York, we're in San Francisco, in Silicon Valley, in Mexico City, in Berlin, in Munich, in Taipei, in Tokyo, Singapore, London, and New Delhi. And it's sort of like a crash course. We ask you to commit for a few weeks. We bring you in as a cohort. We put you in front of people. We offer you working space for free in that market. We offer you mentorship. I think it was Mr. Lindor earlier who was talking about the important things are what? Knowledge, networks, mentors, and capital. We give you all these things in market to help you to build and build that network that you need on the ground there through the CTA. And we work across multiple sectors: clean tech, health services, ag tech, ocean tech. So that's a really interesting program that we've seen a lot of successful Canadian companies go through. So I look forward to telling you a little bit more about our funding, but I will leave that for later.
Thank you, Sarah. It's interesting because one of the key elements that you mentioned is that your services are free. And people don't often understand that when they get to government, there are many services that are free. And you also mentioned something interesting, is that we come to you for international market, intellectual property. There are other people that can assist. So André, obviously from an IP advisor perspective, can you describe how you interact with the people that come and meet with you, and also like some of the common things that you hear often that we should be aware of, or that people are not necessarily privy to, but that you assist on a regular basis.
Yes, and I'll pick up on what Sarah was saying. So I guess one thing we would talk about is that IP is country by country. So it's not because you have a trademark in Canada that you may start to sell online and then not have trouble in other countries. So that's one of the things. But I'll get to some of the big issues I talked to with a lot of clients over the years. But at a high level, we don't provide legal opinions. Okay, we provide legal information. Okay, so so that you're going to hear more about legal opinions that others can offer. So a legal opinion is, if I apply to CIPO, what are the likelihood that I'll get it? Or if I'm involved in a dispute with competitors about my IP, what are the likelihood of success in negotiation or in front of the courts? That would be a legal opinion. I used to do those. Now I prefer explaining rules. Explaining rules is legal information, and that's where the knowledge is power. The client, and the more the client knows, the better. Once they do consult IP professionals, and we always recommend it. There's a time in between that we found with all the conversations, because you do have clients calling us that are trying to represent themselves. So with all of those conversations, and in my past role when I was practicing, you do hear when they do go to lawyers eventually, or when I went to lawyers myself eventually in other areas of law, there is a time frame. So, and then, like I said before, we would wish as a lawyer or as a patent agent or a trademark agent that clients would come to us sooner to avoid more problems and to take advantage of opportunities that professionals are aware of, and that all of us are not. And it's not because it's because it's not, we don't learn, even if we learn it in high school, there's a billion things that we learn, and we probably only remember a small fraction. So that's at a high level. And then, but for me, I go out to people that usually don't know we exist. And so I do outreach, Atlantic Canada. I rely a lot on all the partners in Atlantic Canada, over 100 of them. And one of them is Springboard Atlantic, and we collaborate very well together. Kudos to them if they're listening. But universities, business association, incubators, because they interact with clients that if they haven't talked about IP yet, they should come to us. Okay, so that's the one thing. So some of the big things that usually comes into play, like I used to have like several conversations a day. I could, because I only had to talk high level. That's the beauty of our role. Otherwise, I could only take a few clients a day. But at a high level, so deal with ownership issue as soon as possible. We heard Dr. Pierre said we have to establish before doing a lot of hours and a lot of energy and an emotion into it. Okay, who's going to own this? Not in 2 years from now, but as early on. Confidentiality issue, day one, because we heard that if you divulge, you could lose. And I've heard many stories. I've been in good positions of hearing interesting stories, but I've been in less so good position of saying you need to talk to a lawyer very quickly. Okay, so you want to avoid that. I've learned by mistakes myself, so we all do. We try to minimize that. Okay, so that's the big one. But very quickly, like for trade secrets, do you know all the things you need to do early on? And do you know also all the things that you need to do so the secret doesn't get out as the company gets bigger and people change seats and oops? For trademarks, do you know that there are 2 types of trademarks in Canada? In some countries, there's only one. Some people think in Canada there's a third way to get it, a fourth way to get it, and a fifth way to get it, and it's not the case. Do you know that even if your trademark is not spelled the same way, or it's not the same combination of word, you could be stepping on someone else's trademark? Did you know that? Like we don't know that because again, we haven't learned. I didn't know that. I didn't know that before I joined CIPO. For patents, I usually I illustrate many different ways how complex it can become. Like there are different ways because sometimes they call and they try to do it. Some of them try to do it themselves, but it tried to show them the legal value of hiring a patent agent and all the reasons other than legal than hiring a patent agent. We go and try to bust myths. For copyright. Even if it's what does it mean that copyright is an automatic right? That you don't need to register, but you still recommended? What does it mean that you don't need to put the copyright symbol, but it's recommended? What does it mean that when you register your copyright, we don't take a copy of your work? What does that like? So I can explain a lot of that. So when you do get a legal opinion or advice to solidify your copyright, like I did 10 years ago, I did consult a copyright lawyer for my own creation. Okay, because I was not practicing copyright law at the time. So it's an extension of my creation. And then I could go on and even sometimes they don't know about industrial design and plant breeders, right? And the one thing I say, here are all the reasons why you should hire a trademark agent. Here are all the reasons why you should hire a patent agent. And then for trademark, I think I have like 7 or 8 reasons why I would hire a trademark agent myself. So that I would end it in there.
Thanks, André. Very valuable information that you provided. Obviously, one key element that I took away is the difference between legal information and legal advice. Béatrice, évidemment, dans l'audience aujourd'hui et même en ligne, il y a plusieurs accélérateurs, incubateurs. C'est des gens qui vont aider directement les entrepreneurs à sécuriser leur propriété intellectuelle. Comment on peut les aider? C'est-à-dire, comme évidemment, toi, tu es une professionnelle, c'est-à-dire tu es quelqu'un qui est licencié, qui a le droit d'exercer ce métier-là au Canada. Si tu peux parler un petit peu de l'exercice que tu fais, l'identification de vraiment le côté professionnel, où est-ce que tu peux donner des conseils et aussi aider les gens dans la salle à comprendre où commencer. Fait que, où est-ce qu'on peut commencer le cheminement pour essayer de s'aider en propriété intellectuelle?
Bon, je vais sûrement focuser plus sur les brevets à ce stade-ci. Donc, une chose, je vais parler principalement de 2 choses qui sont revenues, en prenant sur des choses qui sont revenues. Déjà, à la base, mettons donc que vous avez cette innovation. Donc, vous voyez à l'OPIC qu'il y a des personnes qui essayent de vouloir faire ça eux-mêmes. Quand on travaille avec un professionnel de la propriété intellectuelle, par exemple, la première chose à faire en brevet, par exemple, ce serait, comme on l'a vu aussi, ça coûte cher, vraiment, la protection par brevet. Ceux qui ont eu l'expérience un peu, là, c'est pas donné. Heureusement que les gouvernements aident, mais sinon, ça coûte cher. Et la dernière chose, donc, un innovateur veut faire, c'est que, donc, tu penses que tu as cette invention-là, tout de suite, tu te lances dans la préparation d'une demande de brevet, tu déposes, et tout de suite, tu déposes, donc tu as payé peut-être un agent de brevet pour le faire, ou bien tu l'as fait toi-même, tu vas payer les frais du gouvernement de dépôt, de requête d'examen, juste pour te faire dire par un examinateur de brevet que non, tu ne peux pas avoir de brevet parce que ton invention n'est pas nouvelle, c'était déjà divulgué, ou alors c'est évident par rapport à ce qui existe déjà. Donc, la première chose, un professionnel en propriété intellectuelle, un agent de brevet va t'aider à faire une bonne recherche de l'art antérieur, comme on appelle dans le jargon. En fait, tout simplement pour dire que, et on va t'aider à faire une bonne recherche de ce qui existe déjà, qui est pertinent à ton domaine d'innovation. Et on va te donner une opinion de brevetabilité. Donc, on va te dire que est-ce que tu as quand même les chances d'avoir un brevet, oui ou non. Okay? En général, quand même, sur ces aspects-là de est-ce que c'est nouveau, est-ce que c'est évident, les lois dans le monde sont à peu près unanimes ou uniformes. Parce que, comme on l'a dit, les brevets, la propriété intellectuelle en général, c'est pays par pays. Et chaque pays a ses lois. Mais au moins sur la base, est-ce que ton invention est vraiment elle est nouvelle? Est-ce qu'elle n'est pas évidente telle qu'elle peut être protégée par brevet? Ça va être à peu près uniforme dans toutes les juridictions dans le monde. Donc, l'agent de brevet, dès le départ, on va t'aider vraiment à faire une bonne recherche et on va voir quelles sont tes chances. Et c'est très bien, cette recherche-là est très intéressante parce que ça va nous permettre aussi à mieux cibler vraiment c'est quoi ta protection. Qu'est-ce que tu monopolises comme ton invention. Pour ceux qui sont en fait le contact un peu des brevets, il y a cette partie dans un brevet qu'on appelle les revendications. En anglais, on dit claims. So, c'est là où vraiment tu définis ton monopole. Okay? Quand on a fait une belle recherche de l'art antérieur comme ça, par exemple, ça nous permet de faire un beau design de tes claims, de tes revendications, et ça va rendre la poursuite. C'est-à-dire, quand les examinateurs de brevets à l'OPIC vont prendre ça pour examiner, ça va rendre ça un peu plus smooth parce qu'on aura vraiment su c'est quoi ton innovation et on l'aura bien défini. Et en fait, même les personnes pensent que cette étape-là est inutile, ça va faire perdre des fonds additionnels, mais en fait, ça va vous faire sauver des fonds parce que justement, le processus de poursuite, le processus d'examen, comme on dit aussi, va être plus smooth et donc on va dépenser moins. Voilà, donc c'est un élément très important. Et prenant toujours ce qu'on a vu côté international. Donc aujourd'hui, il y a les statistiques qui montrent là, que les compagnies ont plus de succès en allant à l'international. Donc on veut protéger dans d'autres pays. Okay? Même si on ne pense pas soi-même commercialiser là-bas directement, on veut protéger là parce que la compétition peut-être veut aller là. Okay? Peut-être que vos manufacturiers sont là. Et aussi, bon, une chose qu'on sait dans la propriété intellectuelle, c'est que quand on est propriétaire de propriété intellectuelle, on peut ne pas l'utiliser soi-même commercialement. On peut licencier, on peut vendre. La propriété intellectuelle, c'est un bien, aussi bien qu'une voiture, une maison, n'importe quoi. Donc, on peut vendre, on peut louer, donc dans ce cas-ci, octroyer des licences et avoir des revenus. Bref, comme on a dit, c'est un outil commercial, la propriété intellectuelle. Bon, voilà, revenons à l'international. Donc, c'est ça. On va designer avec vous une stratégie de propriété intellectuelle à l'international. On va vous aider. En général, nous travaillons dans un réseau. Comme là, moi, j'ai mon réseau. J'ai des personnes avec qui je travaille aux États-Unis, en France, en Europe, en Asie, au Japon. Donc, j'ai comme un réseau. Je vais comme travailler avec ces personnes-là pour vous aider à protéger dans ces pays-là. Mais avant ça, une beauté qu'il y a des traités internationaux qui font que le processus est vraiment focusé. Donc, il y a la possibilité de déposer une demande de brevet international. OK? Bon, mais je vais dire tout de suite, un brevet international, ça n'existe pas. OK? Donc, c'est vraiment le dépôt d'une demande internationale, c'est vraiment juste un processus pour vous guider, aller vers les pays éventuellement dans lesquels vous voulez vraiment avoir un brevet. Et donc, on va vous aider avec tout ça. C'est vraiment c'est assez technique, comme on le sait. C'est assez technique, donc vraiment, c'est bien beau de vouloir aller tout seul, mais c'est sûr qu'à un moment donné, on est comme obligé de vraiment de se retourner vers un professionnel pour vraiment guider dans tout ça. Et peut-être pour clore, un dernier aspect qui est important aussi côté brevet, par exemple, c'est que le système presque mondial aujourd'hui, c'est sur la base d'un système premier déposant. Okay? C'est vraiment celui qui à déposer une demande de brevet sur une innovation donnée, en premier, c'est lui qui aura le brevet. Okay? Parce qu'on a vu des cas, souvent on se croit vraiment génie, peut-être qu'on l'est vraiment, mais il y a d'autres génies dans le monde. Il y a vraiment, vous voyez comment deux groupes ou bien deux chercheurs travaillent sur exactement la même chose et arrivent à des bons résultats exactement de la même manière. Et donc, le bottom line, c'est que c'est le premier qui aura déposé une demande de brevet au bureau des brevets qui aura le brevet. Alors, donc, souvent, c'est comme on dit, il y a une course au bureau des brevets, mais il y a des moyens encore de faire tout ça. Il y a le moyen, on va designer avec vous des moyens, le système a des moyens tels qu'on part d'une demande informelle, on vous cale une date de priorité et en tout cas, je ne vais pas vous mettre, vous faire dormir, vous rendre les personnes endormies ici avec toute cette technicalité-là, mais sinon, c'est que vraiment, travailler avec un professionnel, on gagne plus qu'on en perd.
Merci Béatrice, bien dit. Je pense que la combinaison de tous les participants ici démontre la valeur ajoutée de vraiment se rassembler ensemble quand on est des organismes de support pour vraiment aider la communauté noire et en fait toutes les communautés présentement au Canada. Mathieu, je ne sais pas si tu veux rajouter un petit peu d'informations concernant ton programme ElevateIP ou est-ce que les gens, par exemple, qui ont entendu l'information concernant le financement, est-ce qu'ils peuvent aller directement aller voir les springboards ou les récipients qui ont reçu de l'argent? et où est-ce qu'il faut qu'il passe, par exemple, par le ministère pour y accéder?
Wait, no. So that's a good question. If you are interested in applying to our program, you would go directly to the funding recipient in your region, and they will walk you through. And I really do strongly recommend to any entrepreneur, whether you think you have any relation IP, whether you think you need IP, I would strongly suggest you go and at least go to an information session, because it touches a lot more than you might think. Anything related to branding, even if you don't have a patent, a lot of your branding would be copyrightable and you would want to protect that. So there's a lot of really good, solid information that is being offered for free by a lot of these organizations, our recipients. So I do strongly recommend. Now, in terms of who is eligible, startups, they're at times defined a little bit differently, but generally they are smaller end, less than 100 employees, somewhat recently founded Canadian companies. Activities can be international, but they have to have like a headquarters in Canada. In terms of the activities, the education component is absolutely free. All you have to do is sign up. A lot of them have regular webinars. They have a lot of opportunities to learn. And then there's ballpark about $25,000 available for development of strategies. And in many cases, they will help you find an IP professional to do that work. Then finally, for the third one, the implementation of IP strategies, it is $75,000 to $100,000 that's available. And again, in some cases, they will put you in touch with somebody, but other recipients will also allow you to bring your own professional that they will fund. So it's a little bit different depending on the recipient. Another thing to mention too, I had a question earlier about whether or not we focused on any particular sectors. So it is completely open-ended. There is no, we don't target clean tech, deep tech, genomics, anything. It is every sector. If you are a startup and interested in IP, or you have a need, I strongly recommend anybody to go to one of these recipients and to see what might be a good fit. Last thing I also wanted to quickly cover, one of the elements of our program, I mentioned earlier that we really do want to encourage a real solid uptake from underrepresented groups of this program. So one of the things that we have required of all of our recipients is that they create an idea plan. So a plan on how they propose to deal with inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility. So they have to identify not just that they want to meet our requirements, that they want to have a strong uptake in underrepresented groups, but they have to identify how. Who will they be dealing with? What groups will they reach out to? What additional flexibilities might they offer? We do have for activity 3, there is a co-investment. So there is a requirement that a small amount of money is put forward. It's between 10 and 25%. And one of the flexibilities that is offered by some of our recipients is that co-investment amount is decreased for underrepresented groups. And I strongly encourage you. So we do track how things are going so that we can course correct. And we do. We don't deal directly with startups. Again, that's all done through recipients, but we do consider all entrepreneurs are stakeholders. So if there's anything that we need to hear about how the process went, if there are any barriers that you've seen, that you've observed, that you felt, we strongly encourage everyone to reach out to us, and we are here to help. We don't offer the funding directly, but we do want to hear about what the experience was like, because programs get renewed, things change. We always want to be able to make that next iteration of the program, that much more responsive to the needs of every community. So if there are any issues, please, we would love to hear from you.
Merci, Mathieu. I recognize that we're 15 minutes over. However, I really like Sarah to talk about one of the program fundings that you have that is specific to intellectual property.
I'll give the 1 minute pitch
Yes.
because we got money. We got $30 million. We got $30 million a year to give to Canadians, companies or innovators. So innovators who are looking to do R&D partnerships with a foreign entity or company looking to enter a new market to support your business. And we specifically cover some IP costs. So André and Mathieu and Béatrice were talking about the international challenges on IP. We'll help you pay for that. We'll help you pay for your filings. We'll help you pay for an international strategy. And we will also help you pay for consultant or legal fees in the market to be able to do that. I will not talk longer about this program. The information is on the website. You can come and chat with me after. If you are also a melanated company, owned company. This is my new term. Thank you for giving that to me, for sharing it with me. You're participating in one of our minister's trade missions around the world. She's taking companies to Vietnam, to Philippines, to Thailand this year. You also get, a higher boost in terms of your application, et cetera. So do reach out to us. We want to help you achieve your global goals, and we've got lots of tools and some money to help you do that.
Un grand merci, Sarah. Écoutez, ce fut un plaisir de vous avoir aujourd'hui. J'espère que vous avez trouvé l'information qu'on a partagée pertinente. Je pense qu'au nom de l'EPIC, je vous remercie vraiment d'avoir pris le temps aujourd'hui de nous écouter. On a d'autres événements. Fait que ça, c'est le début. Hein? C'est le début. Je pense qu'on a bâti une très belle relation où est-ce qu'on est capable de voir qu'on a des synergies ensemble et on est capable de s'entraider pour faire avancer le dossier de la communauté noire en entrepreneuriat et en innovation. Alors, j'aimerais sincèrement remercier certaines personnes qui ont contribué à la rencontre aujourd'hui. Mais avant, j'aimerais se donner le mot de la fin à notre président Constantinos.
Okay, merci beaucoup, Cliffandi. Look, it's a rare event where you could bring people together like this and have such a meaningful and deep conversation. I really do recognize that. And I'm taking away 4 words. And let me explain some of these. First of all, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for everyone being here. I'm grateful for the expertise that people have shared. I know you're all very busy people and you have a lot on your plates. So to carve out the time for this type of event is extremely important. Thank you for that. I'm humbled by the deep expertise that we have around this table. It is unbelievable. We just scratched the surface based on the time we had today, but what we've learned from doctors, academics, business leaders, professionals, and colleagues is really quite humbling. I'm challenged as well. I mean, it doesn't always have to be a comfortable conversation, and I think Mr. Lindor really helped us challenge some assumptions. We talked about fundamental issues of history and ownership and how it translates. And I'm deeply inspired. I'm inspired by the passion that was also demonstrated here today, the passion from all the different parts of the IP ecosystem. So those are the 4 words: grateful, humbled, challenged, and inspired. So this was the first ever event. I don't think I'm going out on a limb to say that this is not the last. My challenge for my team and colleagues as well from across government is, what will we take from today? So when we do meet again, we can report back to say, this has helped us think through some of the challenges and helped us even fine-tune our approaches even more. So encore merci à tous. I really appreciate everyone being here. And again, thank you to the team for pulling it together. Merci.
Regardez, c'est le début. C'est le début. Je souhaite que vous allez participer à nos autres événements. Le 29 février, on va avoir Madame Jasmine et son conjoint qui vont vouloir nous parler de leur expérience à accéder les services que vous avez vus aujourd'hui. Les services qu'on a ici autour de la table sont qu'une partie de ce qui est présentement disponible. Alors, c'est pour ça que c'est important de continuer à garder contact pour qu'on puisse partager vraiment l'ampleur de tout ce qu'on a de disponible au gouvernement fédéral. J'aimerais aussi vous inviter à aller au Sénat. Alors, évidemment, nos panélistes aujourd'hui, certains d'entre eux étaient présents juste pour aller voir l'exposition et vraiment prendre à cœur le niveau d'innovation que ces gens-là ont et qu'est-ce qu'ils ont pu accomplir pour le Canada. J'aimerais aussi remercier, pour le mot de la fin, Karine Aristide. Karine Aristide, c'est la mère de l'illustratrice qui a fait les panneaux pour nous. Alors, quand vous allez les voir, que ce soit en ligne, que ce soit en personne, vous allez pouvoir voir le talent de la relève qui vient autour de la jeunesse et j'aimerais vraiment bien la remercier pour tout le travail que sa fille nous a fait et sa présence en termes d'accomplissement, surtout au niveau de l'exposition qui est présentée au Sénat. Alors, sur ce, je vais vous souhaiter une très belle soirée. Je remercie toute l'équipe qui est derrière moi. Il y a tellement de personnes. Je suis sûre que vous connaissez Kate Lampierre, Steven Lecomte. Je regarde Denis, je regarde Maya. Vraiment, nos panélistes aujourd'hui, vraiment des invités distingués. Et je vais vous dire à la prochaine.
Thank you for watching. We hope you found this discussion on intellectual property insightful. If you're a Black entrepreneur looking to dive deeper into IP, be sure to check out our page on Black entrepreneurs and intellectual property. There, you'll find information on funding programs, success stories, and other resources to get you inspired and started on your journey with IP. You can also book a free one-on-one session with an intellectual property advisor in your region to get advice on how IP can help you grow your business. You will also find all the links in the description box below.